Lesson 1. What is the Internet? So what is the Internet and how does it work? Well, in its simplest form, the Internet is a number of computers, all connected together by cables. If we forget wireless and satellite connections for the moment, your computer is connected to the telephone line which exits your home or office. You may hear the words ADSL, broadband or cable network, but at a fundamental level, they all refer just to a physical wire which goes from your home or office, under the ground or across poles over ground, until they get to the local telephone exchange owned by the company providing your service, be it British Telecom or Virgin in the UK, or the likes of Comcast or AT&T in the US. Regardless of you as a home user or a huge company like Amazon or Microsoft, we all connect to the Internet in basically the same way. A piece of wire from the home or office to the company providing your service. So we know that every computer in the world is basically at the end of a piece of wire. But when you type www.amazon.co.uk into your computer, how does it know where in the world Amazon is? That's where domain names come in. When you or any computer or mobile phone or iPad connect to the company who provides your service, be it BT, Vodafone, Comcast, whoever, the first things that happen is that your provider gives your device an address known as an IP address. What is an IP address? Well, it's really just like a phone number. It consists of 12 individual numbers separated by a dot after 3 numbers. For example, 123.456.789.123. So, when you turn on your modem or router, the box that's provided to you by the company you get your internet connection from, the first thing that happens is that your provider loans you one of these addresses for as long as you're connected. That address, those numbers, are totally unique in the world. Once you have those numbers, no one else in the world can have the same number as you, much in the same way as no one else can have the same telephone number as you. Let's look for an example at my IP address at the moment. Okay, here is an example, is the information from the router, the box which is given to me by my service provider, and the address I've been given. So, we look on the screen here, we can see that at this particular point in time, my computer has been allocated and given or loaned from my service provider the address 90.193.209.18. Now, strictly speaking, that's actually incorrect because it always contains 12 digits. What it's actually been given is 090.193.209.018. However, the zeros don't really need to be there. What I've also been given is the address of the domain name server. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. But as you can see here, I've been given 2 addresses of 2 computers, which are these domain name servers, which we'll talk about shortly. In exactly the same way, Amazon, the company, also has an address. However, that's not really very friendly, is it? For if you want to look at Amazon, you would have to constantly remember the address or the number of that Amazon computer. So instead of an address, we have things called domain names. Amazon in the UK owns a domain name called www.amazon.co.uk. That's also well and good, but how do the domain names and the IP addresses work together? Well as providing you your address, the company whom you buy your internet connection from also gives you access to a huge directory which matches the domain name to the address. It is really just a huge electronic telephone directory. Its official name is DNS, or Domain Name Services. So let's look at what happens step by step when you open up your web browser, be it Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, Firefox or whatever. When you open the browser, you type in the address of what you want to look at. So, in our example, www.amazon.co.uk. Your computer sends a message to your internet company, which effectively says, "Hi, I'd like to look at the information on the computer that has the name www.amazon.co.uk. What's its address?" Your provider then looks in its huge directory to find out what the address associated with that name is. Once it finds that, it sends the address back to your computer. Great, now your computer knows the address of the computer it wants to talk to. It sends a message to that computer saying, "Hi," whatever the number is, "please show me your first page of information." Now the computer that gets this message from you at that address has to deal with thousands and thousands of people every minute asking for information. To do this, it has to be a very big and very powerful computer. Its job, 24 hours a day, is to respond to these messages from people all around the world. It therefore has a special name. Instead of being called a computer, it's called a server. Now let's not get confused. It is just a computer. It just happens to be a very powerful one whose sole job in the world is to send or serve pages of information to people all around the world, hence its name of a server. All of the messages from your computer to your internet company, back to you and then Amazon, all happen in a tiny amount of time, a fraction of a second. So why does the page you're looking for sometimes take a while to show on your screen? Well, that depends on how powerful that computer or server is at the other end and how many people it can talk to at the same time. That's why sometimes, if a website is very popular, such as if you go to book tickets for a big act just after they've been released, it can take time for the web page to show on your screen, and sometimes so many people are asking information at the same time, the computer at the other end goes wrong because it just can't cope. So what does this mean if you want to run your own website? Well, for somebody to get to a web page that you've made, you need to register a name in that big telephone directory. You also need to have a computer that's powerful enough to respond to people constantly asking it for information. And also it needs to stay on 24 hours a day. Luckily, there are lots of companies out there that will rent you one of these servers. Well, actually, they just rent you a little bit of one for just a few pounds or dollars each month. They will also take out all of the hassle of having to register the domain name you want with the big directory on your behalf. These are called internet hosting companies. Some of the well-known ones are GoDaddy, FastHost, One-on-One, but there are many, many others. So, you pay the hosting company a little monthly fee and give them the web pages that you make. They will then store them on a server, or host them, hence the name being a web host, on one of their big servers, and then register that server's address with the directory or DNS service, along with the name you want people to type to get to that information. So that when people type in www.deanswebsite.com or whatever the web name happens to be, the directory or DNS tells people to go to your web host and they will give them the pages they're looking for. Simple.